Welcome to 7th grade English Language Arts. I'm Mrs. Evanowski. The 7th grade English Language Arts curriculum is aligned to the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. For more information on these standards or for a list of these standards, you can go to the New Jersey Department of Education website. This year for reading, we will be using a couple of core novels. One of those is Drums, Girls, and Dangerous Pie by Jordan Sonnenblick. It is a high-interest reading novel for 7th grade. I use this book primarily in the first marking period as a combination of a class novel and an IDR, which is independent reading. I will assign the pages to be read for homework, and I use this to introduce elements of literature, to model and practice how to write an objective summary, and to practice determining the meaning of unknown words through the use of context clues. Another novel we will be using is Tangerine by Edward Bloor. This novel corresponds to one of the springboard units that we have on literary analysis, so we will be working with that novel as well. We will also be doing a guided reading unit towards the end of the year, and I generally use a unit on tolerance. So the novels we have used in the past have been novels such as The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, Will of Thunder Hear My Cry, Esperanza Rising. The books are subject to change depending on the needs and the interest of the students. Additional reading materials that we will be using come from Springboard, nonfiction texts and nonfiction books, Scope magazine, newspapers, manuals, pamphlets, and independent reading. For the independent reading, the students are expected to read for 20 minutes a night, 3 times per week, and the reason I assign this each week is because studies show that in order to improve reading, writing, and vocabulary, students must be reading on a regular basis. So students will choose, after the first marking period, when we're done with Drums, Girls, and Dangerous Pie, they will choose a book of their choice to read, and they will read for 20 minutes a night, 3 times a week, and write a summary, which will be collected every Friday. Partway through the year, I changed this summary to a double entry journal, which we will go over when the time is appropriate. This year for writing, we will be working on 3 to 4 major pieces. One of those will be the argument paper or argument persuasive. They differ slightly. An argument includes it addresses the counterclaim. We will work on the structure of an argument piece, developing strong arguments and examples, and ways to support arguments and examples using textual evidence. I usually use the argument piece as the research paper as well. So the students will research a topic of their choice, come up with an argument, and they will use their research to support their argument. Another piece we'll be doing is a literary analysis. We will be using this for Tangerine and a variety of poems, so we will work on developing a strong thesis statement and supporting sentences, analyzing the elements of literature, and using textual evidence to support the thesis. We will also work on narrative writing. For narrative writing, I like to have the students write a myth. We will read several myths in Springboard, and then the students will write a myth of their own. We will work on using figurative language, the use of dialogue, effective dialogue, and punctuating it correctly, and on story structure. Throughout the year, we will write several smaller pieces using informational and explanatory writing and concentrate on the structure and organization of ideas, the compositional risks, and using textual evidence to support or back up what we are saying. These writing pieces will be scored based on a standard aligned rubric and conversion chart, which the students will have available to them prior to writing their piece. Additional writing will take place in Springboard. We also do daily journal writing. I put a prompt up on the smart board at the beginning of class, and students have about 10 or 15 minutes to respond to that particular prompt. We then share responses with the class and then provide feedback based on the organization of their ideas, the word choice, vocabulary, and sentence structure. About once or twice a marking period, I do grade one of the responses in their journals, and that grade is based on a list of expectations they are given in the beginning of the year. So I do expect them to use higher level word choice, organize their ideas clearly, and to use appropriate sentence structure. We will also have do writing when we respond to literature and use text support for that. Vocabulary will be taught through direct instruction and in the context of reading. I place a strong emphasis on the use of context clues to determine the meaning of unknown words. I spend a lot of time in the beginning of the school year going over how to write a context clue sentence, and students are expected to use context clue sentences when writing sentences for the vocabulary words, and they're expected to use context clues to determine the meaning of unknown words as they read. I also place a strong emphasis on using Greek and Latin roots and prefixes to determine the meaning of unknown words. Each week, students are given 5 new words on Monday, and they are also given 2 roots and prefixes. From these words and roots and prefixes, the students need to develop note cards. Their note cards will include the word, the definition, the part of speech, at least 3 synonyms, and a context clue sentence. More details about this information and a list can be found on the SMS Google Sites page for 7th grade language arts. As I stated before, each Monday the students will be given a list of 5 new words and 2 roots and prefixes. Every other week, there will be a quiz on the 10 words and the 4 roots and prefixes that we have been studying. And every 4 weeks, there will be a test on the 20 vocabulary words and roots and prefixes from the preceding 4 weeks. All of my homework is posted on the Grade 7 calendar, which can be found on the SMS Google Sites page. I have 2 standing assignments each week. One of them is the vocabulary cards, which are due on Wednesdays. I also have IDR, which I've discussed previously in this presentation, and that's due every Friday. That work will be submitted through Google Classroom. A strong emphasis will be placed on the use of technology this year. Several of our tests and quizzes will be on the computer on Linkit, and all written assignments will be submitted through Google Classroom. I also use a program called Now Comment, which allows the students to closely read and answer questions based on the text, and allows me to see whether the students are understanding what they are reading. As far as grading goes, my tests are weighted at 60% and my quizzes are weighted at 40%. All scored work is placed under one of those 2 categories. Reminders about tests and quizzes and assignments will be sent through the Remind 101 app. Please see the Grade 7 ELA Google Sites page for details on how to sign up. If at any time throughout the school year you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. The best way to contact me will be through my email, and I will get back to you as soon as possible.